Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, we've got the Paladin 18 and I'm going to take you through some basic setups. I've shown you how to make the left stick for your throttle self-center, same as the right. But I'm going to take you through a basic setup for RC cars. Now this one is slightly more complicated because it's using the Hobbywing 1080 G2. And that one's got two extra channels that you use. One is for the drag brake, so you've got adjustable drag brake. You can set your maximum brake on the programmer for the ESC, but then you can set it to a dial so you can basically go between 0 and whatever your maximum drag brake's set to on the ESC. And then you've got a second one that I won't be using on this, but I'll show you how to assign to it. And basically what that does, on the G2 version of the 1080, you can have your brake so it's always back, but then you press another button and then you start to throttle and then it'll go in reverse. So basically you have a button to tell it which way is drive and back is always brake. But I'll show you how to assign that button, but I don't have that set up on this because it's more of a touring car and you don't have reverse. But let's bring you in for a close-up look and hopefully take you through this and it should make sense. So first off, when you power up the Paladin, you're going to be faced with this kind of screen. Now we've got the standard setup on the RC. We've just got his battery plugged in. We've got on channel 1 we've got a steering servo, channel 2 is ESC, and then your yellow and your white cables are on 3 and 4, and therefore the drag brake and the real driving mode, they call it, basically where throttle is always accelerate and then you have a button to change your direction of drive. Basically allows you to turn reverse on and off, and brake is always pull back to brake. To move, it's always add throttle, rather than you being brake and then reverse. So it does kind of make more sense because it's a drive a real vehicle. So I do get why they call it real driving mode. Right, so first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set this model memory up so it more represents a car. So if we go in and we go to setup and we change this picture to a car to start with, then your stick mode depends whether you want basically this to bit throttle or that to bit throttle. They're massively configurable. Just to make it easier, I'm going to leave it on mode 2, which makes this the throttle, and then we're going to use this at steering. So then we come down to type and we're going to change this to a car. It'll ask you if you want to change it, then make sure Humvee is selected, and then on here you can go in and you can select a few other assignable features. So basically I'm not really sure where they were going with this, but you've got things like gearbox, hooter, capstan, which is a winch, wipers, and you can go in and turn each one of these options on and off. So really on this, there's nothing that really makes any sense. We've got no lights or smoke or anything. So once we've come out of that, you've got it set to Humvee, you've got a picture of a car, and you can go in and name it, or summits of the sort. So then you want to back out of it. Then you want to go into your basic menu. Gonna check RF settings. So you want transmission on as default. The transmission type will be whatever module you've got plugged in. So then we go to RX setting. You can set your custom port. This will be the sensor port or iBus port, whatever you want to call it. But we'll just leave that because we're not using any of it at the moment. PWM frequency is an important one. So I know this ESC and this servo will both run at 333. So we'll swap everything to that. You do get slightly more options if you are going for one of the enhanced receivers, but we're using the FGr4S. You can set your fail-safes in here. So iBus is all set to no output, and steering and everything's no output. It's not really important on a little electric car because it's not really going to run away. But once we've got them set, you want to be in your bind menu. You want to go to bind settings, and you can basically use, I believe it's fast 8 channel, classic 8 channel, or CFast 10 channel for any of these receivers. So next thing we're going to have to do is get us bind plug in and then power up. I'm going to leave it on classic 10 channel. It's kind of irrelevant, but I know it works on this one. Leave it on two-way bind. So click bind. It tells you that this is for FGr10, FGr4, 4S, 4P, and a few others.
Binding. Bind successful.
So as you see, that binds straight up, and you get your little signal sort of strength. If we just power it off, remove bind plug, and then we can power it back on. So first thing we need to test, does it accelerate when we add throttle? Yep. We've got as brake, which, let's see if I can show you the light on the ESC. So we're getting brake and we're getting full throttle. So that's absolutely fine. They don't need direction changing or anything. Then if we try steering, so it's steering the opposite way. So we need to go in, and then I think this one is on the basic menu. So first off, servo reverse. It's always going to call it rudder for channel 1. So we reverse that. Then we get a steering in the right direction. But as endpoints and as sub trim is quite out on this. So next we're going to need to go into the sub trim, then go into as rudder, which is your steering, and then we can plus and minus on here just to center as steering. So now we've got a steering centered. We can come out of that one, but we've got far too much travel. So you go into channel route, go into rudder, and then you can basically bring down your endpoints. So that's going too far that way. So we need to bring that down. It's going to be somewhere around 70% on this, it usually is. So that's got that way sorted. Now we can do the other. So now we can go full lock to full lock without stressing the servo or trying to bend the chassis off. So that's got that all set up. Now on this one we've got another 2 channels. So what we want to do is go into function, and then we want to go into, I think it's channel 4 we've got this on. So then we can change the name of that. So we can call it drag brake. Then we want to assign it to something. So you go onto assignment and just move one of these dials. If you leave it on normal, it'll be fully adjustable. And if you just slide up front bottom, you can see what the channels are doing now. So we've got a steering, throttle and brake, and then this will adjust what we've got on as drag brake. So that's it all the way off. That's drag brake on. You can see it stops really sharp, and you've got fully controllable drag brake. So we've also got in the other channel, we've got the adjustment that we're not using, but I'll show you how to assign it. So auxiliary 3, we can go into it. So if we call that drive mode, then go to assign, and I'll just flick it onto a button. In fact, we'll put it on this end because you're probably going to be using that and its throttle at that point. So you just press it and it'll assign it. And basically, if we go into here and show you, all that's doing is flicking that channel between 100 positive or 100 negative, and that'll be enough to change the drive modes. So if we did have reverse set on this and the real drive mode enabled, throttle would be to accelerate, but then you press that and throttle would be reverse instead. I don't have it enabled on this because you're not allowed reverse where we drive these, but it means that back is always brake and throttle is just to move. So it's either forward or press it and it'll go in reverse. But that's just a pretty basic overview of how to set this controller up. So you've got your steering, you've got your throttle, you've got your brake, and you've got your adjustable drag brake because of the ESC we're using. Quite nice. Your trim for your throttle would be this one, and it will show you on screen. And the trim for the steering will be this one. So you can see the steering changes, and it will tell you when it's on its center point. You can set any of these to any of these dials. So you could have this as your adjustable drag brake. I just find it easier for drag brake to be on a dial that you can basically see exactly where it is. And you've also got the reading on the bottom that will tell you what setting you've got it on as well. So it's quite a nice setup. You do get your receiver voltage sent back because we're binding in two-way. And I believe you can actually change the timeout on the display as well. So if we go to backlight timeout, you can set it to always on. Of course, it does annoy me when it keeps switching off. But yeah, that's just a very basic setup of how to get it all working for an RC car. And it is really configurable. You can set all these trims. They don't have to be the trim for the actual thing it's on. But if you've got any questions or any bespoke setups that you'd like to see, let me know and I can try and design a setup to suit. So let's wrap this one up. So there we have it. Pretty straightforward way of setting up the Paladin 18 to be a stick transmitter for an RC car. You've also got a lot of assignable functions, dials, buttons on this. It does have settings for ABS braking, exponential, dual rates. It's different to setting it up on like an MB4 or a Pro, but it's capable of doing it all. But yeah, if there's any particular setup, if you've got one of these and you're not using it for a plane, you're using it for a car or a rock crawler, and there's something you want me to try and work out how you set it up or how you configure it on this controller, leave a comment below or join the Wtf Rc Cars Facebook group and post the question in there, and I'll do my best to get you a video and show you how to set this up and get it working. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.